It's minus 10 degrees this morning in central Alaska. We're headed to buy a new snowmobile. I am excited to take you through some of what I think is the most beautiful road tripping in all of Alaska. Probably the most treacherous part of this road trip. Millions and millions and millions of frozen fresh water all tied up in that glacier. Let's have a look at this machine. Check it out. This is why we live in the backcountry of Alaska. You hear that? There's nothing to listen to except the sound of the snow falling and this river running as it freezes up. This is why we live here. It's minus 10 degrees this morning in central Alaska. Beautiful November, very crisp morning. We're headed to buy a new snowmobile. Be a beautiful drive today in the early winter in Alaska. Let's get going. I'm going to visit an old friend of mine in Valdez and pick up this snowmobile. It's used, it's not new. A little pro tip from many Alaskans that I've learned is you dress for the weather, not for the car. That means you don't dress so you'll be comfortable in the car. You dress so if your car breaks down that you can survive on the side of the road and stay warm. And so that's what we're doing this morning. On the next 7 hours of this drive, I am excited to take you through some of what I think is the most beautiful road tripping in all of Alaska. We're going to go right by gorgeous glaciers, huge mountain vistas, and everything in between, and then down to the ocean port of Valdez. It's beautiful, minus 15 degrees. We're rolling into the town of Willow, Alaska right now, and we're still probably a whopping 6 hours from Valdez. The town side of Willow is known for one thing, widely regarded as the dog mushing capital of the world. There are many, many famous dog mushers that live in and around this area. Look at that as the sun rises behind those peaks. It's absolutely stunning. Alaska is as beautiful as you think it is, and then some. And it's time for some fuel. We will fill up the tank because we have quite the ride over to Glen Allen, about 150 miles from Palmer to Glen Allen, I think. And there are not too many fuel stops between here and there. Very remote and very scenic areas that I can't wait to show you, but it would be wise to keep a full tank of fuel going through this area. Positive 6, it's warmed up to a beautiful balmy 6 degrees. Some body fuel and some truck fuel. So I don't know if this is very good fuel. Egg McMuffin, burrito, vitamin water, that offsets this, doesn't it? I think that's how that works. Muffins. Juice smoothies. Juice smoothie offsets burrito. Don't quote me on that. At the Matanuska Glacier. It makes for some really pretty scenery, but very treacherous driving. Beautiful Matanuska Glacier. Millions and millions and millions of frozen fresh water all tied up in that glacier. I know it just looks like piles of snow or a snow-capped mountain, but between these two peaks you can see the edge of the glacier right there and then the runoff below it. What a remarkable sight that is. Right here is a sign that says Matanuska Glacier Access. If you drive down that road, it takes you down to the river bottom, and there's a business down there that you can hire someone to take you over to the glacier and get real close and actually touch that glacier. It's pretty remarkable. This is a famous road that you see in many, many photos on social media, because if you look straight down this road and into those woods and those mountains over there, that is the Mount Wrangell St. Elias. And I regret we can't see it through those clouds because it makes a remarkable photo and a remarkable image while driving down this highway. And it is pretty. We're getting into Glen Allen, Alaska. Glen Allen is usually called the hub of Alaska, widely known as the hub of Alaska, because it seems like almost all roads to this end of this massive state go through Glen Allen. And it's sort of a four-way stop sign and a convenience store. And from there we will head east and south down to the port of Valdez. Okay, everyone, welcome to Glen Allen. Some more snacks. Time to get down the road. Valdez is on the ocean. It's a deep water port. and it is the terminus, which means the end of the Alaskan pipeline that starts at Prudhoe Bay on the North Slope in the Arctic. And that it's one of the great engineering wonders and accomplishments on the planet. And it ships that oil, it pushes that oil through that giant pipe several hundred miles all the way down to Valdez. And at the port of Valdez, the giant oil tankers come in, and that oil goes onto those tankers, and those tankers float that oil out of here and down the west coast, transfer it to refineries. It's turned into gasoline and plastic and all sorts of things that make our lives go. Six hours later, welcome to Valdez, Alaska. Pretty place. I want to share a notable landmark when you get into Valdez on the way in. There's an old railroad bed that came through here, you know, long before the highway was here. And so they dug tunnels through these hillsides and put in a railroad. One of the railroads is a historic site because there was some sort of a shootout at some time in early 1900s. This is called Keystone Canyon. If you want to check it out online, if you Google Keystone Canyon, you can read much more about it. Can't wait to show you guys this. This is one of my favorite sites here in the way to Valdez. I believe this is called Bridal Veil Falls. Have a look at that. We're gonna get out of the truck just for a second. Well, in the summer, this is gushing water. Right now, it's starting to freeze. And so in about another month, when this freezes up, you'll see ice climbers climbing this to the top. They do that for fun. Crazy Alaskan stuff. So we're getting into the town of Valdez. Back there you can see that big red monster in the back of the truck. That is the new snow machine. Gonna check into the Best Western at the harbor, and we'll clean up, get a little bit of rest, and then meet a good friend for dinner. Valdez is really coming along. They're really doing a nice facelift to this little town. I love the big pretty arch here with the Valdez, Alaska written on the arch. That's nice. This Totem Hotel looks pretty sweet right there. I kind of like this. We're going to check it out. This might be a good hotel to stay for the night. Let's go check in. Checking out the Totem Hotel Suites. It's beautiful and snowy. Valdez, Alaska. It's time to get on the road. We're going home. Wow, what a difference a day makes. This is 9 a.m. in Valdez, Alaska, and we're headed home back to Central Alaska. We have 6 to 7 hours ahead of us, several hundred miles, and we had a snowstorm overnight. And so I expect we will get quite a bit of snow on the roads and maybe some blowing snow on our way home. But first we need to make sure we are topped off with fuel, as we are headed into some very remote parts of Alaska. Let's get some fuel. It's an ironic thing when you pump fuel in a place like Valdez, Alaska. This is the end of the pipeline that comes from the northern slope and Prudhoe Bay, where they pump all of the oil from the north slope and then down here to Prudhoe Bay. I mean, out of Prudhoe Bay down here to Valdez, and then it gets on oil tankers over to the refineries. One would think maybe they could just put a little refinery here. Maybe that would save us some money. One of the scary things about driving this road is that when this happens, when a car passes you and you get white out. Well, that wasn't so bad after all. We'll wait till the big rig. When the big rigs do that, it gets really scary because you can't see anything all of a sudden. Well, we made it home from the long trip to Valdez, and so now it's time to unload it and give it its first test ride. We don't have enough snow on the ground yet to really go ripping out through the backcountry here. If you do it too early, there's only 6 or 8 inches of snow on the ground right now. If you do it too early, you'll break parts off this machine. When you're blasting through the snow, the front skis hit something like a log or something like that, and it could break it. So we don't want to be doing that. We want 2, 3, or 4 feet of snow on the ground for us to really have confidence that we can ride safely without breaking anything. So right now it's just riding along the property and down to the creek near my house. And by the way, one of the most dangerous things you can do is unload a giant machine like that from the back of a pickup truck. It's a steep ramp. If that ramp slips or if something goes wrong, that thing goes tumbling. And so do I. So I'm very careful, very cautious to do this. And so you'll watch me do it right now. Hopefully nothing happens. Come have a look at this. I'd love to show you what I'm doing and why it's important. So as I said, one of the most dangerous things you can do with a snow machine is unload it from a pickup truck because of the steep ramp and a very heavy machine. This one weighs, what, 600 pounds or so. And so it requires something of a specialized ramp. This ramp is really good. It's made for a snowmobile or a snow machine. We call them in Alaska. And it has something very unique. One of the biggest risks is when you pull this thing off, this wants to slip. And if it slips and collapses, you go tumbling. And that machine could fall on top of you and hurt you very bad. So this company did something very smart. This is a ratchet strap that I'll attach to the back of the truck, and it keeps this ramp from slipping as I unload the machine. And if you're curious, this is called a Ramp Pro caliber by Ramp Pro. They didn't pay me to say that. I've owned this for several years now, and I've used it very successfully with ATVs and snowmobiles. Hey, let's get this baby unloaded. Let's have a look at this machine. Check it out. 850 E-Tech. Expedition Extreme. It's the Rav Gen 4 chassis, I believe. 20-inch wide track. 1.8-inch lugs. 154 inches long. It's going to give you a massive amount of flotation and grip and traction. Let's go for a ride. Okay, we got to do something a little different. I need goggles and a better hat. Turns out when you go fast on a snowmobile and while it's snowing, it hits you in the face and it stinks. Okay, since we live in the backcountry of Alaska, we need to represent. So how about this? Will this be Alaskan enough for you? It's a beaver hat. I think it's beaver and might be nutria, which is good to eat, by the way, if you live in Louisiana. Surprisingly warm, by the way. And some goggles. This will keep my ears and face. Oh, that's a good time. Check this out, everyone. This is why we live in the backcountry of Alaska. How about this for a gorgeous sight? Look at this little river that's not far from our home. And how pretty this is. It's almost all frozen in. In the summer, this is full of salmon and trout. And it's a great time. Listen, you hear that? That's right, me neither. There's nothing to listen to except the sound of the snow falling and this river running as it freezes up. This is why we live here. All right, let's take some more rides. I'm excited about this machine. So as I'm riding, if you can hear, you hear this clunking and grinding going on. And that's because the bottoms of the skis are hitting the rocks that's under this snow. We don't have enough snow base yet to really be doing a whole bunch of this. But I'm very excited about this machine. Wow, it's got a lot of power. And it the button again, it actually shuts the engine down and then runs the engine in reverse and then you back up and hit it again. And I like that much better than my older Ski-Doo Scandic. The reverse was down here and it was just a bit clunky to use. This is so much smoother. For a little bit and show you guys like what's called POV, I guess, point of view. Come along with me as we go for a little ride on this Ski-Doo Expedition Extreme. That was a successful first test ride of this 2020 Ski-Doo Expedition Extreme. Let me run down just a few of the features of this machine and why it's special. Let's start from the back. So if you're curious about why I love this machine of all others, this is why. You have a 20-inch wide track. That's 20 inches wide. Look how long that thing is, as opposed to my wife's machine here that has a 15-inch wide track. Why does that matter? It matters because this will get more grip, and it just has more distribution of the weight, and so it'll float better over the snow. One of the other things about the 20-inch wide track is it seems to just want to stay flat, as opposed to some other machines that will tip quite easily. I really like this thing. The link system is here. Link, L-I-N-Q. It's generally considered the best of the accessory systems in the industry right now. So you can pop fuel cans like this, and all you do is just pull this off and pop this out here, and then this comes off, and you can refill it or use it. It's a very clean system. No zippers, no buttons, no material that might mess up. It's a very good system. BRP, Bombardier, and Ski-Doo has a full line of accessories that fits on here, and it's really wonderful. This has the articulating rear track. Pull this pin, this part of the track lifts up, and what that means is it feels like a shorter track, and if you try to back over stuff, the end of the track will come up and grab whatever's back there. The Rev Gen 4 chassis for you Ski-Doo nerds out there. This is a heated box for your goggles or your gloves. Takes heat off the engine and sends it up here. Very excited to have this, if you can't tell, and I can't wait to take you out on some real adventures in this thing. We're going to take this deep into the backcountry on some caribou hunts, on some predator trapping expeditions, and so much more with Living by Alaska. Now here's a video I think you'll really like. Join me there. Let's go.